What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another live stream. Hope you all had an amazing weekend. Excited to update you guys on what's going on, talk probably about sales a bit, answer some questions. For everyone that's joining, hello. Hey, people on Instagram, how are you? So this last week has been finally back into things. Full throttle, feeling way better than I was. I think it's been like close to 3 weeks now since getting sick, and was down and out for a little more than a week, I'd say. And finally getting there. Still have the COVID cough going, but other than that, we're good to go. So it was a lot of catch up, things like that. What's going on, Tom? How you doing? What up, Chase? How's it going, my man? For anyone else who's joining, again, feel free to drop your comments below. And I'll also put a link to actually join the live stream as well. Okay, cool. So, past week. Again, there's a lot of catch up. A lot of like deal flow towards the end of the funnel stuff. So, like, I'll probably talk a bit about follow-up and the importance of follow-up in this week's episode, unless you guys have specific questions. But one thing, I will give a small spoiler. The next video that we're launching on Friday, I did record a sales call because I've gotten requested so many times to do it. So it was a little awkward, but I was at the beginning of the sales call, I was like, hey, you mind if I record this? As the person knows, I have a YouTube channel and people would love to hear a live call. So finally recorded a live call for you guys. It'll be in next week's YouTube video, and I'm going to break down things that went well in the call, things that I did, why I did them. So it should be pretty fun. So yeah, we have things in procurement right now, which again, end of the funnel type deal. And that stuff is like interesting. It's very interesting, especially if you're first starting out. If you're first starting out, it can be, you have to kind of get used to it. You'll think like things aren't going to close, but they will eventually. And if you're a seasoned vet, you've been doing a lot of sales, you know that some deals will be at the like end of the funnel. You think you're going to close it, you don't close it, but then like 4 months later, you hear back from them and they end up becoming a client. Happens a lot. That's why follow-up is so important. So, and it's interesting because like you shouldn't just be following up to get people on the phone call. You should be following up to actually close deals once you've had your initial call. So there's a lot of leads we've had those like initial presentations with. Some of them we've had second or even third presentations with, and now we've sent out proposals. What's interesting is I don't typically do proposals. But it's a little bit different in marketing because like a lot of times people want to know strategy and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing proposals. We've been putting together like these action plans for people, but I'm not like a huge fan of doing all that stuff just because like it takes a lot of time, and honestly we go over a lot of it. With my software development agency, we never ever do proposals. I think we may have done like a couple when we first started, but we don't do proposals. And we don't have to. Like there's no reason to. It's like, hey, look, here's what we're going to be doing for you. People are typically like taking on a couple engineers, and it's pretty straightforward, especially when you're running like the staffing model versus more of like an agency model where you're responsible for the work. Now with my development agency, we are responsible for the work for a lot of the projects. I'd say it's like half and half. Half of them are like staffing, where it's like, here's your engineer. The other half are like we run the actual tech. So like, we're kind of like the CTO of the company. And when you're in those situations, again, it's not like proposals, but it's more like discovery. And we do what's called paid discovery. It's actually interesting, the law firm we work with, and you guys have probably seen Rafe on here. I had him on as a guest maybe 2 months ago, month and a half ago, something like that. They also do paid discovery. Well, they don't call it paid discovery; it's a paid consultation. So in like the software world, like there's time involved when you're doing discovery in software. There's a lot of time involved. So in that case, I always charge for that stuff because it's very expensive if you have to spend 50 to 100 hours doing discovery. Now, it's interesting because and I do see someone's trying to join. I don't see that there's a camera on. So if you do want to join the live stream, make sure that you turn your camera on. So in terms of discovery, there's like in software development and anything, there's like light discovery and then there's more in-depth discovery. So like when we are like working on closing deals with clients, we do light discovery and we let them know that like, hey, look, like we're gonna like give a very, very rough estimate for you on like what we think this might take to build. If you want to pay for discovery, then we can do discovery. And it just depends on how much do they want us to go into detail in discovery. Here's like the max amount to get the most accurate projections. And here's what it looks like if you just want like, mid-level confidence projections. So I think that's important to do, not just in software development, but also if you are going to do marketing stuff like this one person we're trying to work with, like we've done a lot of, I don't want to call it discovery, but just like putting an action plan together, and that stuff takes time and you should bill for it. And we haven't billed for it because like it's one of our first clients. We're doing some new things. So just keep those things in mind. But yeah, so a lot of end of the funnel stuff. That's why it's so important to have a CRM. It'd be impossible to keep up with this if we didn't have a CRM, especially when you're doing a lot of volume. Like if you're doing hundreds of calls a week or a ton of outbound, where you're landing like say 40 appointments a week, that's a lot you need a salesperson. You need a sales team doing that. And it's funny, I'm looking up here because behind the camera is a whiteboard and I have kind of like a lot of like strategy notes on the whiteboard in regards to like what we need to be achieving outbound wise. And I can break some of that down for you guys because it's pretty interesting. So like I've been like thinking about like, okay, how many new clients we want to take on per month, monthly. I was like, okay, if we want to get like around 10 clients, in the case on the whiteboard, I have like 8 clients. It's good to know your numbers. So what I'm assuming is for like a salesperson, and we're just talking cold outbound calls with emails layered in on that. I'm assuming that you'd pay the person, say, $20 an hour. And here's a pro tip. I've mentioned this before on the live stream, but if you want to hire salespeople to do cold outbound in regards to like cold calling, it's better to hire people to do to be part-time versus full-time, because a full-time salesperson doing cold outbound calls is going to produce about the same results as a part-time person just because you like burn out. So assuming you pay someone $20 an hour, they work part-time 80 hours a month, that would cost you $1,600 a month, right? And then personally, this part's really important. The details of this part's really important. I would pay the person like $25 for every single appointment that they set, that the person shows up to the appointment. Not just for setting an appointment, shows up to the appointment. The reason for that is I want my salesperson following up. I want them to work to get the person onto the appointment and be incentivized to do that, because there's a show rate involved, right? If you follow up and remind people, then they'll hopefully show. If you collect the right information, then they'll hopefully show. So if you pay $25 per set appointment, and let's just say if, again, someone's part-time, I don't know if this number's too high, but I would assume with 80 hours of calling, they could set 40 appointments that maybe show. If that's the case, if you can actually achieve that, then that would be 40 appointments that show, that'd be $1,000. So now you're paying $1,000 for those appointments that show. And then the $1,000 plus the $1,600 that you pay the person $20 an hour for, $2,600 in total costs to get 40 people on calls. Not bad. That's really good. So let's break this down more though, because now you have 40 people that you have to do calls with, right? So if you have 40 people that you have to do calls with, and let's just say you have a 20% close rate, you're able to close 1 in 5, then you should be able to close 8 deals. So if you're dealing with 40 appointments a month, right? You might be able to handle that yourself, but once you start scaling up, you might want to hire a closer. So let's just say we hire a closer and we pay them $150 for every single deal they close, $150. Um, and they can close 20%, then of that 40, they should close 8 deals. So if we do the math on that, then that is $1,200. So $1,200 gets you 8 new clients. If you do the full math on what all of that cost you for the closer and the appointment setter, the 1,200 plus the 2,600, you have $3,800 in costs to close 8 deals. So then the next question is like, what's your pricing at? So for us right now, I'd say our average deal is, let's make it easy and say $2,000. So if your average deal is $2,000, you close 8 deals, you're not doing bad. $16,000, and that 16 grand costs you 3,800. That comes out to under, I don't know, what is that, like 400, around $400 for every single new client. I'd pay that all day. If you have clients that you're closing at $2,000 a month, I'd pay all day $400 to acquire a new customer. So this is how the math breaks down, guys. It's very simple math. It's how it all breaks down. And then once you can actually create a system that produces like that, then hopefully you have something you can scale up and all day pay 40 or $400 to acquire $2,000 customers. Again, if those are monthly retainers, those $2,000 a month, then that is just, you do that like clockwork. You definitely afford that, because then you have, man, that's like a 5x on the spend. And every single month they're paying 2,000. If you can set something up like that, again, it's very good. Now, software development is a lot different compared to like a marketing agency, and I think that's what's super interesting when it comes to like what type of agency that you run or the types of services you're offering. Something that's like higher price, more expensive, like software development has longer sales cycles. The processes are somewhat similar, but again, you're usually dealing with longer sales cycles and different approach. In that case, those types of things, they typically cost probably a lot more than $500. In the case of like, again, a lower ticket, I guess, service offering is $2,000 a month. That's pretty, the numbers I just shared are pretty standard and straightforward. I haven't tested enough with like actually having like a sales team, so I can't talk too much to that, but hopefully that's what we'll be doing pretty shortly. That's how those numbers break down. If anyone's out there trying to do some outbound sales, that's the scoop. A lot of people joining on Insta today. Gonna wave to everyone. So in other news, with the marketing agency, we kind of got the site up. You can go check it out now. It's live. It looks pretty good. toldmedia.com. So like we've explained this, but we're rebranding our development agency, which I'm really excited because I finally think I came up with a name that I like for our development agency. So that's super, super exciting. But the design, or sorry, the marketing agency, the content stuff we're doing, which also very excited about, live. What we haven't put live though is like our testimonial section, our like our work section, and like I guess we'll call it like a lead grab section on the website, which like the lead grab section is always important to have because like you want to be giving value and getting contact information. So like we put together, or I'm putting together like a TikTok viral guide, how to go viral on TikTok. And it's going to be our lead grab section. So we're still building out the site. If you do check it out, let me know what you think. I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Actually, we'll do it. Maybe a screen share here. I can show you guys the back end and stuff. Let's see. Oh shoot, I have like a bunch of stuff up. I was supposed to close these things. Give me a sec. Where's the share button? Here we go. Bam. Okay. So here's the website, guys. Whoops. So we tell your story. There's the value. The value prop is we're the social media and content marketing company you've been looking for. Um, Kind of explain what we do. We do consultancy and agency work. And then here, this part's not done. We have 2 more sections we have to put up, but this is like the what we do. Here's the who we work with. So it's good to kind of like explain who you actually work with. I think we're gonna be working a lot with like influencers and like businesses that are like kind of like coaching and that type of stuff. Um, and then call to action, let's talk. And right now we just have this like going to a section to like schedule a call. And then let's see here. This is like the back end of it. So if you guys are curious like how like these websites are made, we have everything designed first, and then let me see. Let me stop sharing so I can pull up something for you guys. We use something called Figma. We use Figma for our design. So our designer puts everything in Figma, which is really awesome. If you do websites or design or anything like that, product development, Figma is awesome. It's something that we started using pretty recently. Let me get Figma up so I can show you how this all works. Let's share this. Where is it? Keep losing the share button. Someone asks, "Are you you still using that laptop you flipped for?" Yeah. So I think this is that laptop. Um, I have like 3 MacBooks now. So I think this is the one. Pretty sure. Got a really great deal on this guy. Let me see. All right, let's share this. Okay. All right. So this is what Figma looks like here. So pretty much our designer puts all of this in Figma. Let me just make this bigger so you guys can see it. So this is really great because now our developer can actually just like all the design assets are on here. So they can download, the developer can download everything. They can see all the CSS code for everything. And just makes it really easy. So like this, you can see like the way I templated this is like, there's a lot of filler text that I was just writing. These will be like TikTok videos right here. Here's some sneak peeks of what this might look like. This is going to be a cool testimonial video. So it's pretty exciting. So like the designer designs all this, and like we keep iterating on this. So like a lot of different sections are being changed. And then again, all this is given to our WordPress developer. He implements the designs, and then I can change everything right here. So like you can see our title, tell your story. We're the social media content agency, and I can turn sections off. So that's what's really cool. So like this section, let me find a section that's off, is currently off. If I want to turn it on, I can just click this. So like, see this section right here, this testimonial section? I'll actually go to the site so you guys can see. Okay, so like you see this, we scroll down here and you can see it's a little different in the designs, right? So like we're adding 2 pieces here. If let's say I just want to add the next 2, I can do that. I don't have images though, but I could just be like, okay, let's add 2 more rows. So like one's gonna be like social media, and then another row is gonna be like repurposing. And then we fill the text in, we add the image, and I'll hit update in a second. And then this one's off right now, these testimonial sections, but we'll add the video for the testimonial, and then add like the quote. So I just turn that on. Right now it's off. I just turned it on, and I'll hit update, and then watch how easy this is. So then if I refresh this, bam, social media, repurposing content. So just add those sections. Again, I didn't add text or an image. And then this section's live now. And it's pretty cool. So let me just turn that off because I just like actually made that live. And I do not want that live on our site. Let's get rid of these little dev stuff for you guys. But that's like an ongoing thing that you always want to do. You're like always updating the website. Again, if you're going to do this stuff, get a good designer. I always like lay everything out first. Like I create what's called the UX. So I'll be like, okay, I want this section. I want this section. I want this section. I might write a little bit, then give it to a good designer. They can make it look real nice like that. And then they should use something like Figma. So it's very easy for your developer to implement the designs. And if you use something like WordPress, you just saw how easy it is for me to go in the back end and change things. So that's what it's looking like. Chase says you need more pages on the website. So this is a really good point. I actually disagree with this. You do need more pages on the website. So I do agree, overarching, but you want to get it out. You always want to make things easy. Like get things launched. One pagers are always the way to go, in my opinion. Then you want to build more pages as you go. Don't like wait and be a perfectionist for too long and never get things launched, because then you're never going to get things launched. So if I like waited, it would maybe take me another 2 weeks, 3 weeks to like build out more pages. And then that's 3 weeks of like not having a website. So I would suggest just going and getting that first version of the website up now, and then just you add over time. So like the next section, like on our services page, we're gonna have a lot more things. We're gonna have a lot more pages on the site. It's an ongoing process. That's how I look at it. I think that's how everyone should look at it, or else you're just gonna kind of sit on your butt. But on our end, like we literally, like we don't even have a contact us page up right now. We just book a call. That's it. It makes it really easy though. And then as we want to grow the website, again, you saw how easy it is to add those things. So, and using Calendly. So it's interesting because on the back end of Calendly, which you guys have heard me talk about for outbound in regards to like booking calls, doing outbound sales. I use that a lot with Loom. I also use Calendly for the website to book a call, and it's important to make a different section on Calendly. So we have a totally different section. My internet's being a little weird here. We have a totally different okay, we're good. We have a totally different section. I don't know what to call it, like a thing for the website. So I can see, okay, this person booked from the website versus this person booked from like these outbound campaigns versus these outbound campaigns. So that one that's on our website is specifically connected to people that schedule from the website. So I know that they came from there. So that's how we do all that. And what's important to have on the website, that some of the things that you could see there were like the value prop. You want to make it very clear, like what you do, who you do it for, which we kind of don't do at the top. We do what we do, and at the bottom is like the who we do it for. But also what's important on the site is like you want to have social proof. So like that's why it's important to get those testimonials up. You want to show your work, so we're going to get a lot of our portfolio up, and then again we're going to build out those pages. So I'm pretty excited to get those things live. Also, you guys can't see it, but this last week, pretty excited because I got a standing desk. It's right here. I guess Instagram can see it. There's the standing desk, which is annoying because like it's here on my desk, and when I do the live stream, I have to like push it this way. But I'm really excited about that. I haven't had a standing desk since I started the project. I actually gave away my standing desk to someone on our team, and then I bought a standing desk for someone else on the team. So I never got a standing desk. I just gave both mine away. So finally picked one up. Standing desks are pretty expensive, so I highly suggest if you want a standing desk, one, definitely get one. They're awesome. And then secondly, Marketplace got this baby right here. I think it's like a $200 standing desk, and I got it for like $50, I think, on Marketplace. Not bad. It's in great condition. I think the last one I got was used too, and that was like $50 on Marketplace. So big fan of Marketplace. If you're watching, I know a lot of people that follow have started using Marketplace and found really good deals. Standing desks are one of those weird things, I guess, that you can get really good deals on. Same with like MacBooks and couches. But that's what's been going on the last week. I really don't have as much as I usually do, just because it's been like a crazy like catch up week. A lot of like client work and things like that. We're doing some hiring. So getting all that set up. Hiring's pretty interesting. I don't know how much we've talked about hiring on the podcast. Oh, that's a good point. Someone said they love Facebook Marketplace since you don't have to assemble stuff. Chase did. That is a huge it's actually one of the things I love most about Facebook Marketplace. I freaking hate assembling things. I hate assembling coffee tables. I hate assembling desks. I hate assembling TV stands. I mean, all that stuff is just, it's the worst. I'd rather pay someone to assemble something or save money getting something used and not have to pay someone to assemble something by getting some used on Facebook Marketplace. So, but what was I just talking about? Hiring. I don't know how much we've talked about hiring on the live stream, but that's something I've gotten significantly better at over the years. It's something that like I think everyone should reach out to more people in the recruiting and hiring space. Actually, when I first started Told Media, I made some not the best hiring decisions. And I want to get better at it. So like I have the funniest emails of me like cold emailing people and recruiting at like big tech companies. Cause like, okay, well, who would be good at recruiting developers? Probably people that do it at big tech companies because they spend a shit ton of money on recruiting developers. So I reached out to a bunch of those people and got on calls with a couple of them. They taught me some of the things they do to actually do the sourcing, but then there's like the validation behind it. And if you guys want to learn more about hiring, the best book I always recommend is Who by Geoff Smart. I actually think if there's like one book that someone needs to know about, and they're starting a business, and they're like, one book, just recommend one book, what would you choose? It'd probably be Who by Geoff Smart. Like top my list, number one. I wonder if I have it behind me. I probably do. I can see it. Right here. Best book on hiring. This is the most gifted book that I have. I've gifted this to a lot of people. And the reason this book's really good is their framework on hiring is awesome. Love this book. And I guess the cliff notes on how I hire and a lot of things I've learned in this book, which I wish I read when I first started my very, very first business, is the framework is one, if you are going to hire someone that doesn't have experience, because you're trying to like say save money, that can be a recipe for failure. The best, I guess, probability of success is someone who has previously had success doing whatever you need them to do. So, for example, if I'm going to hire someone to do sales, well, I could go hire someone off the street that has no experience, that's right out of college, and I could teach them sales. That could work. I could get lucky and find someone that's perfect. Or I could hire someone that's been doing sales for the last 5 years and has shown specific results at their previous company. When I do my reference checks and talk to those people and they validate the person was really good and they did the things that they claim they did, then your probability of success hiring that person versus the first person I mentioned that doesn't have as much experience or any experience is significantly higher because they've already done it. Chase just ordered the book. Chase, I was gonna actually gift you this, I think. I forget what I ended up sending you. Or we were talking about a different book. I forget. But but yeah, so that's part of the framework. The second part of the framework, and there's a lot more to what I'm talking about here. But another part of the framework is like really figuring out what the KPIs would be of the role and then interviewing for those KPIs. So like really understanding like, okay, tell me a lot about what, and here's what I've learned personally. When I interview people, I ask them like, I'd say like where I've gone wrong when I was more junior in interviewing people, the mistakes I've made have been asking people about not enough about what they actually did at the company. Like, okay, you claim you're a senior Ruby on Rails engineer. What did you actually do? I want to know the projects. Let's get into the projects. And what you'll find when you dig into those things sometimes with people that are like not as honest about what they actually did is like once you start getting those details, things start coming up. Oh, well, there's actually 3 other engineers on the project too. Oh, so you didn't build all this. And people on their resume, like they're not going to write bad things on their resume. They're going to like try to make it look as amazing as possible. So I don't really even look at resumes, honestly. I don't like looking at resumes. It's annoying. And I'd rather just have a conversation. I look at LinkedIn's though. LinkedIn is what I want to see. I want to see like, okay, you were a software engineer at Etsy. That's cool. That gives you some credibility. Okay, what did you actually do at Etsy? Because being a software engineer at Etsy, that doesn't tell me a ton. Like, what's the data point there? The data point is Etsy validated this person's good, so there's a good chance like they're probably good at software. But what were they doing? Were they doing front engineering? Were they a back end engineer? Like, what were they building at Etsy? You don't want to find out they're doing like this little project at Etsy, and that's what they were actually responsible for while they were working there. Well, you would want to find that out, I guess, to sift them out because that can happen. And I had one person, I think one of the one people who like really tricked me in an interview before was like this guy. It was actually Ruby on Rails. That's why I used that example. I didn't dig enough into like what he did in the role. And then he like made all this stuff up kind of and like acted like he was super senior. And then I introduced like we were gonna staff him and I got him on a call with like the potential client who was technical. And he like dug into like his technical experience and the guy just got totally annihilated in the interview. And I looked stupid and I was stupid for like, we didn't do a technical interview with him and go deep enough. So those are some things that I've learned about interviewing. Some other things you can do is like say things like, hey, so like when we, and this is literally how I phrase it. When we do a reference check, what's your your previous employer gonna say about you? Then they can't lie, because if they lie, they know that we're gonna talk to them. Or you could say like, oh wow, so like you build all this stuff. Like when we talk to your, or let me change to a different role. Let's just say it was like, I don't know, marketing. So when we talk to your previous employer, what are they going to say about your marketing skills? Like, what are they going to say you're best at? What are they going to say maybe like you need some more improvement on? Again, by saying what is your previous employer going to say when we do a reference check, then the person is less likely, significantly less likely to exaggerate or make things up. So that's a pro tip that I learned. I actually forget who I learned that from. I learned that specifically from a VC that does like a lot of recruiting, I guess, for like his investments. I forget his name. I wish I could give him a shout out for that, but that's a really good pro tip that I learned. So the last thing that's super important is giving a test. So if you're doing recruiting, there's no better advice I can give. If I give one piece of advice, is make sure you have a test. There needs to be testing within the process. This has been the biggest game-changing thing that I've done is going more in depth with the testing and having like a trial period of a week. That's what we've been doing. Week trial. There's some form of a test. So like, let's say for trying to think. And we did this for Logan, which it went great. Like, we'll just use Logan as an example. Logan, we actually didn't do a specific test. It was just like a 1 week trial because it was hard for his role to do a test. But after 2 days, I was like, wow, Logan's freaking awesome. We're definitely going to hire him. For like a video editor, we did do it. Oh, that's a better example with AJ. AJ, one of our video editors, which was incredible. He's been incredible. We had hundreds of applicants. And it's diamonds in the rough, guys, when you're doing recruiting. You have to be patient, especially with like platforms like Indeed. Diamonds in the rough. So like we had to go through everyone, sift out the ones that just like we didn't like, which takes time, right? We got to do it. So we have the Indeed job posting, goes to a Google form. I read everyone I don't like. And when I say red, I mean like the color red. I read them out. And then the ones I do like, I green. And the ones I love, I put in like a neon blue. So they stick out. And it's easy to recruit to do that process for creative roles like video editing, design, things like that, because you can actually see their work. And then you have to figure out the soft skills. It's a little harder for video editing though, because a lot of times there's videographers, there's multiple editors. So that stuff you have to figure out later. But either way, I go through all that. I pick the people I like. Then we invite them to interview, get on the interview, and we talk about, hey, what did you do at your previous job? I vet for culture fit. I vet for overarching. It's like a good fit for the person. Does like what we're looking for align with their career goals? I have to like the person, and they have to be really good at what they do. So in the case of AJ versus all the people we interviewed a bunch of people, and then it came down to like 3 or 4 people that got to the end test. So we give them a test, and the test was, hey, here's the types of videos that we create. We're going to give you some of the footage that we didn't put in the video, and we want you to make a video out of it. So it's a paid test. I always pay people. It's my biggest piece of advice. Always pay for the test. If like top talent is usually not going to do something that requires like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of work if you don't pay them for it. And I think it's the right thing to do. You should pay for the test. So we do that, and then we review everything. And it's so interesting. Like in AJ's case, in that situation, which has happened almost every time I've done this. This is the most important. Like every time we've given a test, every time I've been wrong about who I thought was going to be the best. And in AJ's case, I thought a couple people were going to be really good, and they just turned out to just totally miss the mark, like totally, or they just weren't very good. Again, like when AJ's case, like his video was incredible, and then we knew everything we needed to know, other than can this like the things that are hard to vet for is like, does this person communicate well? What you can see like by back and forth how they communicate. But we also didn't know like, would that person hit deadlines? Would that person be like committed? Would that person someone like that we definitely enjoy working with? Those things you don't know until you really start working. So that's why it's good to have the 1 week trial. And in AJ's case, I don't think we did that. I think we were like pretty confident. We liked him a lot, and we're just like, let's go. But in other cases, I think it's a really good idea to have that 1 week trial period. I just think you can avoid a lot of mistakes that you might miss, or you can move forward with a couple people. Like if we had like 3 people that were like incredible, and we're like, oh shoot, who do we go with? You could do like a 1 week trial period for all 3. It's just more money. But those are some things to consider. We have someone that's trying to go live. I see that someone's trying to go live right now and join the live stream. You have to turn your video on. Don't take on guests unless they have their video on. So whoever that is, make sure to turn your video on. So we covered a bit today. We got 20 more minutes. Talked a bit about hiring. Talked a little bit about about sales. I'm out of water here. Need some more water to help with the COVID cough. I guess this next week, I'm excited to do a lot of outbound that I haven't done before. So I'm testing a lot of things. So some of the things that I'm testing are um, doing like a lot of like LinkedIn outbound, and just some things I've never used, like a lot of like software automation tools. So that should be pretty interesting. Cold email campaigns, just like in general as well. Going to be using, so when you do like cold outbound, when you're not cold calling, you're just straight up cold emailing. The whole process is like figuring out who you want to target, then getting the emails, and then crafting your whole process. So like your email sequences. But you need to warm up the email first. So like, it's I use a software called Lemlist to do that, to warm up the email so it doesn't go to spam. And then we're going to be using video. So as long as we're sending like, 30 emails a day, you can get away with using video in your cold outbound. But you have to be careful with PDFs, images, videos. If you're sending too many, it'll go into the spam folder. But I really like putting video in the outbound. Now that requires more work, right? You have to create a video for every single email, but it's definitely worth it. And I really like doing it. I would rather send less outbound and it be higher quality by using something like video, because I think it'll just be more bang for your buck in regards to like a shotgun approach of just like, let's email freaking everyone. And what I'm doing, and what a lot of people do, is you craft your outbound strategy, do like 3 to 5 email follow-ups, and then the like first line you personalize. I actually like to go a little deeper if I can than just like the first line. I like to personalize as much of the email as I can. And that's why I like to do video. Like if I can do a video in my cold outbound, that's going to convert better. Like people are good. I can send less emails and get more people on the phone. And I can hopefully impress the person a little bit because they like see that you do something differently by doing video. I think the more different you can be with anything you do, that's what converts. So you have to think about it. You have to be creative about it. Don't just do what everyone else does. Like, what can I do that's different? I think we talked about this on one of our last live streams. It's just like, I 3D print logos. I send to people. Well, what else can you do to get someone's attention? There's a guy that that I like saw that was doing cold outbound, that shared some of the things he was doing, and he specifically works with e-com businesses, and he would buy the product for every single e-com business he wanted to work with, and he would just take a photo with the product and then say, "I love your product." Who does that? No one. So if you want to win real big, and you want to convert higher in terms of getting people on calls, again, you got to think outside the box like that guy. I think it's like a pretty cool thing to do. Let's see here. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions. We have a lot of people join on Insta today. I don't know what's up with that. Usually it's more on here. Again, someone's trying to join the live stream. Make sure you turn your video on if you want to be a guest on the live stream. And I can see the video is not on. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? We have about 15 minutes here. If you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. You know what's interesting? I was looking at some of the analytics for the live streams, and we get like 100, 200 something views usually on YouTube. But I started to realize that LinkedIn has been showing our videos more. And it's really interesting, like the live streaming on LinkedIn. I don't know if it's still in beta, but when we got accepted into like LinkedIn live streaming, it was in beta, and it was like kind of hard to get on. So I'm looking at LinkedIn live stream, really cool. This is so cool. So like on my LinkedIn profile right now, and like if you go to my profile, my live stream is actually at the top of the profile. And again, we've been getting like a lot more views, I think. I'm trying to like see on our LinkedIn posts, because like on our LinkedIn live streams, because like when we first started doing it, like we weren't getting like any views. I think because it was in beta, but now I guess, let's see, 9. Not as many. The last one did pretty good though. Just pretty interesting. Um, the one thing I don't talk about on live streams is like very often. Oh wow, yeah, the last live stream got 238 views on LinkedIn. That's pretty cool. I don't talk a lot about content as much, I guess. I haven't been talking about content as much. Someone from LinkedIn just said hi. What's going on? I guess with LinkedIn, it doesn't like show the person's profile though. Where was I? Oh, I don't talk about his content as much, but that would be so much fun. I think we'll probably, if we decide to continue to like really grow the Told Media brand, we're definitely going to do a ton of content. And those will just be specific to content creation, which I would personally love. I'm obsessed with the content stuff. It's just a matter of like how much time I have to spend, and like creating videos for LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Those are all pretty similar, but with your LinkedIn videos, it's important that like the way you write on LinkedIn is, I call it broetry, where like you do line by line by line by line. That just gets a lot more views, especially if you like do the right hook at the top and you can tell the story correctly with the text. But that video on Instagram and Facebook, I would use a lot different text. And then on Twitter, our lowest following I think is on Twitter, which like I haven't really like spent tons of time trying to like grow crazy on social because of the project. But with Twitter, if you really want to grow, you have to do threads. That's what's really important. Chase, I just saw your message. So with Twitter, it's all about threads, telling really good stories with thread. That's how you grow on Twitter. And what's interesting with Twitter is like once you get some like big names following you that have big followings and they like your stuff, it shows up to all their followers. So creating really good written content that's niche on Twitter is the way to go crazy on there. And then TikTok is like really like easy once you know how to do it. There's a learning curve, but it's like making things like really fast, really exciting, hooking people really quick, and then giving value in a short period of time. Let's see, we got a question here. Someone asks from YouTube, how is the project different from what you expected? Project's significantly different than what I expected. I would say like the project in a lot of ways could not have gone more wrong or south in certain ways than I expected. Like obviously the whole having to move back to the Philly area to spend time with family was the biggest curveball. I mean, would have never expected that. That really derailed a lot of the stuff that we were doing. So like one thing that really sucks about the project, that I'm just like personally not super happy with is like the videos in the beginning of the project are awesome. Like they're so awesome. And the reason for that is like a lot of stuff is exciting. And well, what's really interesting is those videos are awesome. And there's a lot of challenges with shooting videos during COVID. There's a lot of challenges because we didn't have as many like characters. So if you want to have really good videos, you want things that are like really fast, really exciting, a lot of value, but you really want multiple characters. And there really wasn't too much of that because of COVID. So that made things challenging. But the videos I still think are like pretty good. But then like moving back here, lost our videographer because we had to move. And then like personally having to manage the MDC team on top of all the outside my development agency, on top of like trying to be able to eat. That was pretty hard. And then I feel like when we got like the most momentum of the project, like I got the ecom house, so like all my living expenses were covered like totally, and I could just focus on my ecom business. Then I found out my dad and had to move home, and then ultimately stopped working on the ecom business. So Um, been a lot of adversity in those situations, but at the same time, that's stuff that happens to people in real life, right? Like there's a lot of people that go through the same exact thing. It's just not during a project where you're trying to do something like this. Um, so those are the ways that a lot different than expected. And there's been a lot more adversity than that made it more difficult. Um, you said, would you say business slash revenue wise? Uh, sorry, I'm not sure of the context. I'm going to assume. Um, I'm going to assume you're asking like, how's the revenue different than what I expected? So I expected at this point in the project, I think we're on month 10. Um, on month 10, I think that's what we're at. What's today? April 20th. So we have April, May, June, July. So we're about like 2.5, 3 months left. I would say at this point, I thought I'd probably be at like the 300,000 to 500,000 revenue range. I think we're at like 50 something. We're approaching 60. So I expect to be like 5x revenue at this point. So significantly lower than I would have expected, significantly. But with that being said, like at the end of the day, the project's not about like, can I make $1 million in a year? The project's about, can you do something that makes you happy? Can you get yourself out of an adverse situation or a bad situation financially? So a lot of people are going through that during the pandemic. Can you create the lifestyle that you want? Can you create the business you've always wanted to do? The hope was to inspire people to believe in themselves that they could do that and show them how to do that. And I think that was achieved. Going from literally homeless to um, having all my living expenses covered, having an e-commerce business, a marketing agency. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do it if you really put the hard work in. And I think if you don't have all these outside distractions and you can just work on your business and just work on making money, I think that makes things easier than having to manage a whole production team doing all that, which is, I think, your second question here or third. Would it be possible to accomplish this? I guess you're asking like making $1 million. That shouldn't be your goal. And there's been a lot of things I didn't like from the beginning about like the name of the project. I love the name of the project. I also hate it. I love it for marketing purposes because if you ask someone like, what do you want to do? Well, I want to make $1 million. That's like the typical response. So I love it for marketing purposes. I'm highly against that. Um, I think it's a really weird answer that people have. I think what you need to do is really reverse engineer what makes you happy and like the lifestyle that you want. So like if your goal is like, I want to make $1 million, or I want to build a $10 million business. The question's why? Why do you want to have $1 million business? Oh, well, that seems like a lot of money. Okay, well, the average business, just so you know, is probably around like 20% net profit. So if you make $1 million, the average business, I'd say, probably makes like $200,000 a year. So why do you want $200,000 a year? Oh, well, that's not enough. Okay, so then you need to make more than $1 million. So you need to make $10 million. So then $2 million profit. Well, why do you want $2 million in profit? Oh, well, I need this, I need this, and then you start like, once you like really break that down, a lot of times you realize like, oh, well, I don't necessarily need $1 million business. I need a $1.3 million business, or I'm happy making 500,000. So like, you really have to like understand why you would want to say make $1 million. Hopefully that answers your question. I don't think it does because you said, would you think it's a possible? 100%. Have other people done it? Absolutely. There's people who have built $1 million businesses in 6 months. There's a guy I know that built a 7-figure business in 2 days. Not really though. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, but there's a guy that I interviewed that did $3 million on Kickstarter, and he probably worked on the project for like 5-6 months total. He made $3 million on his Kickstarter launch. So yeah, it's 100. If someone else has done it, it's possible. In those situations, all possible. So the answer to that, absolutely. Someone says, I like your project very much. I learned a lot at the beginning, but now I feel like the videos are more of a life update kind of vlog, less business related content? Do you plan on adding more of that in? So it's a good point, Richard. This kind of goes to what we were talking about a little bit more. Is like it's just been harder to create the content. I mean, with like business, the interesting thing is like a lot of things are like what's missing in the content that would be really great is having more characters. So like if I had a business partner and we had employees, there's like always stuff going on, both like business and personal. With like the business, I mean, I was sick for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and then we don't have a shooter, and like things are like boring. Like what our video team keeps saying is like we don't want to see sales stuff anymore. We don't want to see sales stuff anymore. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. I will say in future videos, it is going to be more business related. It's like our next video, I said this at the beginning of the live stream. Our next video, we've gotten requested over and over and over again to record a live sales call. So I decided to do that for the next video. So the whole next video is just going to be like me. You're going to get to hear a live sales call, and then I'm going to break down what I did and why I did it to like explain how to run your own sales calls. So it'll be more like business centric in that sense. Chase says Mike's content lit a fire under me and my business blew up from it. So in my eyes was a success. Appreciate that, Chase. Means a lot. What was interesting for me is like the goal, the ultimate. It was really funny because when I started this project, I posted in Reddit. Reddit is a bunch of trolls. Like when I think of like the weirdest people that exist in the world, I think of people on Reddit. That's what I think of. And when I posted the project on Reddit, it was just like all these freaking losers that were just commenting of how like the whole goal of the project is to sell courses and all this like crazy stuff, which I understand because like why would someone do this with no like revenue goal in mind outside of like an actual project? Like there's no revenue monetization other than what we can make ad revenue, like $50 a month from like the YouTube channel, but there's no like revenue model. And everyone thought for good reason, I guess, because like who would, most people try to sell courses and do all that crap. But what I've realized actually after doing this project is like we do need to make money from creating content because we need to pay the bills to create good content. So like that's something I really want to do. Like I want to figure out how to monetize so we can continue to create good content and like hire a videographer, hire more team members, etc. But where was I going with that? So what's been the most rewarding in the whole goal of the project from the beginning was to get the messages of like, hey, you really helped me, because we were going through the same thing. And my goal at the start was like, I think I wanted like 20,000 people to DM me that, which this is a long game, going to be producing content for a long time. And I think we've probably gotten like, I'd say like 40 to 50 people that have DM'd me that have been like literally lost their jobs and were able to get back on their feet. And a lot of stuff we put out was helpful. So that was the real goal of this. So in that case, those are big wins. And that's been really great. See, so someone asked, how would you invest? The investing questions. How would you invest $500,000 to $1 million for the best way of generating passive income? Okay, so it's a good question in regards to, first off, I hate the word passive income, except when you're investing. It is one of the only times that I think you're actually generating passive income, but the big but, it still requires work. Like if you're investing $500,000 to $1 million, you still have to manage your portfolio. If you're angel investing, you still have to do a lot of work to get deal flow and invest in the right businesses. If you're like, even you're investing in crypto, like you have to like watch it unless you're just going to put it in there and then never touch it again. Well, what happens when another coin comes up and you have to like read? So there's still time. I don't think anything's passive, but with that being said, if I was going to, this question right now on April 19th, 2021, if I had $500,000 to $1 million to invest, that'd be hard to say crypto. I mean, obviously, like a year ago, it'd be incredible to have invested that in crypto. I think the problem right now that makes investing really tough is the S&P 500. The market is so inflated. It's so inflated. If you can read a basic financial statement, any public company has their financial statements public, right? If you're publicly traded, you just go to Yahoo Finance, you look at their income statements, you look at their balance sheets. The balance sheet, you can see how much assets they have and how much liabilities they have, debt. You can see how much income they made. And the valuations on companies and the multiples right now is astronomical. It's illogical. And what's happening with the stock market is the government's pumped so much money. We've increased our debt by 25%. That's insane. So it's hard to know these things because like there's just like a lot of unprecedented things. Like increasing your debt by 25% is at what point can you not print money anymore? And eventually things pop. The housing market right now is on fire. It's on fire. We're supposedly in a pandemic, which now we're like out of the pandemic, like factually. But the housing market's on fire because interest rates are so low. At what point does a bubble pop? I don't know. I would invest in like real estate, but only if I got a good deal, like an off-market deal. I wouldn't invest in the stock market personally. And I mean, I'm big on real estate, but just not right now because it's so overvalued. I'd probably just hold and wait. I'd be watching crypto. I think crypto is going to be the currency of the future. I mean, we have our loser government expanding our currency 25%. Eventually, you can't do that. And things like cryptocurrency, there's a reason people are putting so much money into that. Now, the other thing to note, the last thing I'll say is when so much money is being pumped in the economy, you have people getting their stimulus checks and they're putting their stimulus checks into the market. So again, there's a lot of, we'll call like uneducated investors putting money into the market. Everything's just getting pumped up right now. And it's been getting pumped up. So it's a very hard question to answer. So to end the rant, if it were me, I would probably do one of two things. One, I would just hold the 500,000 to $1 million and just wait right now. I might have it in crypto, a little bit in crypto. I'd probably try to find a good off-market deal in real estate. And if I personally had $1 million in the bank right now, I would definitely be angel investing. So I would definitely be looking at companies, probably in the crypto space, probably in like the Latin America and Asia, like international space. You know, it's super interesting. If you go look, I actually just did this the other day. Y Combinator, they're the biggest accelerator, the most successful accelerator program in the world. And if you go to Y Combinator's site, you can see all the companies they invest in. And if you look, they've invested in more international companies than they've ever done before. A ton of international companies. Latin America was really big on that list, and I'm really big on Latin America. So I'd probably be investing somehow into Latin America. I won't be betting as much on the US, just personally. So that's how I would go about investing 500 to $1 million. That's what I'd be looking at. But also, if you asked me for investing advice a year ago, I wouldn't have said crypto. And the people that would have, like I know Chase did, he would have made you a lot of money. I don't think I would have. So I don't know if I'm the best person to take investing advice from. All right, so we have a couple more questions. I'll get to that question in a second. Someone says gold. I think that's interesting. My dad is super big on silver. I think silver's a really good hedge against the US dollar. We're just going to keep printing money. That's not going to stop. So hedging against things, using things like silver and cryptocurrency, I think is a good bet. Gold, personally, I'd go silver. Okay, so okay, let me bring this up. So Chase says Mike's attempt at passive income shorting the market. So before you guys take any investing advice from me, I personally invested, I think $65,000 on before the project, $65,000 on a triple leveraged ETF that went against the market. So my prediction was the market would go down, and I bet that triple leverage. So if it goes down 1%, you make 3%. If it goes up 1%, you lose 3%. And the market has rallied like crazy. So that whole investment's pretty much gone. So again, in regards to taking investment advice from me, you're probably better off taking it for someone like Chase or someone else. Let's see. Okay, so what do you think is the easiest business to launch and the quickest to scale at the moment? Amazon FBA, dropshipping, etc. So the easiest business to launch is a service business. Period. It's not dropshipping. It's not ecom. It's not Amazon FBA. It's not anything, in my opinion, other than service business. The reason for that is you can tomorrow, let's say you want to, I don't know, sell, trying to think of something really random. I don't know, design services. You literally want to start a design agency tomorrow. You can go do that. You can go on Upwork. You can optimize your whole profile to say like you're awesome at design, and you can go find 3 awesome designers, pay them $20 an hour, and bill them at $40 an hour. And you have no expenses up front to get started. You just need to throw up a website pretty much. You have like $100 in expenses to get started. So I think the easiest business is a service business. If you're the one doing the services, then you don't even have to pay anyone. You just have to go find clients and then do the services. I think that's easier than anything in regards to ecom. In regards to ecom, because everything you listed here is e-commerce, I would say dropshipping is obviously easier than anything else you can do. Like Amazon FBA, I would highly prefer over dropshipping for a lot of reasons, but dropshipping is easier. Like you can throw up a store, you don't have to deal with inventory, etc. But you do have to learn at Facebook ads. So that's a lot more work than a service business where I guess you have to learn how to do cold outbound, but it doesn't cost you anything. So in regards to what's the quickest to scale, I think Amazon FBA and like an e-commerce business is going to be the quickest thing to scale, because if you can figure out how to sell something profitably, you just put more money into ads and you can scale it. So that's going to be the quickest thing to scale. If you want to scale a service business, the way you scale that is by hiring salespeople. So it's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, a service business is not as scalable as an e-commerce business because, again, you just put money into ads and you're able to scale that way. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm not sure if you're like looking at businesses to start right now. If you're going to go the Amazon FBA route, I would have personally done something like that if I had like $25,000 to invest. So like that wasn't the case with the project. But if I wanted to start any type of e-com business, if it was me personally, not like doing this during the project, whatever, I would want 25 grand and I'd start an Amazon FBA company over any other e-com company. Again, if it was me personally. But that is pretty much it. We are 10 minutes past the hour. If you guys do have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Mike Black. Shoot me a DM. Hope you enjoyed this week's live stream. Again, if you have additional questions, feel free to just DM me on Instagram. I answer all my DMs at Mike Black. And enjoy the rest of the week, guys. Thanks for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.